Hi everyone, you're listening to the Bridgeway podcast. The purpose of these podcasts is to give us the opportunity to share information and thoughts with you and to inspire all of you who work at Bridgeway. As ever, we'd love to hear from you, so if you've got any feedback, please get in touch.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Bridgeway podcast. Today's podcast is all about women's health and I'm joined today by two guests, Emily Grogutt and Natasha Donovan. Welcome to you both and thanks so much for joining me today and sharing your personal experiences. I'll let you introduce yourselves. Emily, do you want to go first?
Hi, my name's Emily and I am a bridge examiner here at Bridgeway. Been here for a couple of years, but I've been a structures examiner for about 15 years.
Hi, my name's Natasha and I am a university lecturer at King's College Medical School and St George's Medical School, and I've been doing that for about 15 years.
Okay. So just before we start, I just want to clarify, we're not medical professionals, any of us.
We're not.
And we're going to be talking about our personal experiences and just sharing some of the things that we've sort of come across or learnt along the way. So just to start us off with, in 2021, the government collected experiences from nearly 100,000 women as part of a Women's Health Let's Talk survey. And they found that only a third of women felt comfortable talking about health issues within the workplace. Why do you think that is?
Well, are we surprised? Women talking about something they probably feel uncomfortable with. I would say because predominantly the workplace is male dominated, so women probably don't want to talk about their health situations with a load of men that possibly don't understand what they're going through either because they don't get any education, and also about sharing their personal medical history with strangers.
I think as we grow up, we're always taught to keep periods and that ladies' things a little bit quiet.
Don't talk about it.
Yeah. Don't say things, and also it's been the butt of jokes sometimes, so we tend to keep it to ourselves so that we don't get to be the butt of jokes.
So obviously women's health, menopause, it's quite a hot topic. Do you think things are changing in the workplace, and do you think it's becoming more, we are talking more about health, mental health, women's health? Do you think it's getting better?
I think it's changing generally in society. People make a joke out of the youngsters today being a bit more woke, but what they really mean is that people are talking about their feelings more, and I think that's only a good thing, and that passes on and filters out in that everyone talks about mental health a bit more, and I think it helps people.
So I mean, I've heard comments from people that may have already gone through the menopause, let's say, and they think, oh, why are we talking about that now? Why does it have to be a thing?
Because they're so bitter. Because we're getting supported and they haven't. That's what it is. Women not supporting women. We should be pleased that the next generations are not going to have to suffer like we are or we did, and that we're talking about it and that we can get support and we can keep women, worthwhile women, in the workplace, given all their years of experience and keeping it going.
And I don't know what the statistic is. Emily, you mentioned it earlier. There's some statistic, isn't there, about how many, the percentage of women that kind of drop out of the workplace when they get to sort of menopause age?
Yeah, I think it was on one of the Davina McCall's programmes.
Yeah.
And I think it was up to 50% had considered leaving work. And I think it was around 25 or 30% did cut down on their, not necessarily leave work entirely, but cut down or change their work hours or change their jobs.
Yeah, and that's because they're not being supported or, adjustments aren't being made for them within the workplace. So at Bridgeway, Emily, you brought the menopause awareness campaign, let's say, to our attention. Just talk to us a bit about that and why it was so important to you.
Well, I happened to see that companies could sign up to a Women in the Workplace menopause pledge. And it just it was a way to start the conversation to introduce into policies that were more supportive, be it from female fit PPE or to having a welfare van more accessible and those types of things that would just make life easier and lead to a little bit more understanding. And when you read about it more, not so much that affects my job directly, but people who work in an office, I was reading about some office spaces that had a set temperature and that had a clear desk policy. So a woman couldn't have a fan on the desk. Yeah. And they had to put up with the temperature that other people were setting.
The temperatures in office, that causes a lot of discussion, the temperature in offices, I think.
It clearly is. Why is that? It's just, some like that's without the menopause, that's a nightmare.
Well, if you read Invisible Women, there's they apparently air conditioning is designed for men, by men, for men.
Everything is designed for men by men. We know that.
Why did men design air conditioning for?
No, their body temperature does run at a slightly different setting.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So
Remember, we was
yeah.
only let out of the workforce about
And
2 minutes ago.
And the clothes they were expected to wear at the
Yeah.
time as well. So there was a certain office attire,
Oh, okay, and that's why.
which is generally thicker
Oh, I
and
didn't know
involving
that.
more fabric than perhaps
Yeah.
a lady would like to wear in the summer.
So we've brought a menopause policy into Bridgeway, haven't we? That you've kind of helped us to develop. What else have we done, or that you've been trialling some PPE for us, haven't you?
Yes, I've got female fit trousers and jackets
Yeah.
out on site now, and they are a lot more comfortable. I
Yeah.
do feel like my trousers aren't going to fall down quite
Oh,
so
then
much.
what, I was going to say, what's different about them?
Just the shaping of them. So you were wearing men's trousers up to
Right.
then, which is fine, but you buy them for the hip size,
Yeah.
and therefore your waist is enormous.
Yes.
And you
Right.
feel like the trousers are falling down all the time. I'm not a particularly small person, but also a more petite lady would find that their sleeves were too long, or a jacket that fitted their chest measurement then comes well below their knees,
Right.
and you're trying to walk around, and these things just aren't fit
Brilliant.
for purpose.
Was there something to do with the reflective strip as well, being
Oh,
across your
yeah,
boobs or
so
something like that?
Some of the more stretchier tops, to give you a bit more movement, they then sew a non-stretchy reflective strip, which is quite a fix across your boobs.
Oh.
So the bit where you might need a bit more stretch and variation
More
has no
restricted.
stretch,
Has no stretch.
and gives you a nice sweaty band across the middle.
Made
as
by
well.
men for men. There we go.
So, menopause, Natasha, you're quite passionate about talking about this, aren't you?
Oh, well, yes, I am very passionate about it. Well, I think women's health in general I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
That and dying. I'll stay with menopause today. Yeah, absolutely, because it affects, half the world is going to go through the menopause at some point. It is a natural thing for women to go through. But, it's like anything. It doesn't feel natural when you're going through it. Childbirth is natural. Nothing's supposed to hurt as much as that. So why is it deemed that menopause should be so uncomfortable? And we need to make a change. So well done, Emily, for doing a pledge, for getting the pledge going.
So about menopause, what kind of things have you done to raise awareness about it?
Thankfully, I've got a big gob, and I keep talking about it. But the thing I think that I would like to say is the confusion amongst women, so let alone poor men who are probably trying to grasp all this, between perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
Because I've heard so many women go, oh, I'm only perimenopausal, so I can't really go to the doctor and get any help, and I can't really do this, and I can't really... Stop! Perimenopause is when you're going through all the horrible bits. Menopause literally means you haven't had a period for a year. Bosh, menopause done. Perimenopause is when you've got the fatigue, the sleepless nights, the sweating, the palpitations, the itchy skin, the numerous ailments that come with going through the menopause because all your hormones have gone AWOL.
And what should we do? What advice would you give?
Kill us all. No. What should we do? Well, gosh, there's so many ways we need support. Because, of course, for every woman, it's different because, guess what? It's hormonal and all our hormones are different.
Yeah.
But generally, it's having flexible working hours, I think, is a must in any company because just, some women are really tired, so they want to go home early. Some women are not sleeping overnight, so they need to come in later. Having no sleep is definitely a killer for everyone. So I think flexible working hours. I was hearing, clear desks. Well, a fan on a desk makes a big difference for a woman. So things like that. Having it that you could just leave a room if you're feeling hot or uncomfortable or having a moment. And brain fog. What do we do about brain fog? But again, having that understanding that you can actually say, I'm having a moment. Can I just take 5?
Leave the room?
Do you know what I mean? Leave the room, take 5, and then don't get me on to, flooding, which is when your bleeding goes all over the place and you can absolutely flood through your clothes horrendously and unpredictably. How the hell do you cope with that?
So what would you say to women listening to this now when they think, oh my God, you're talking about all this stuff, and if it happens to me, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to bury my head in the sand. What would you say?
Bury your head. Oh gosh. Well, isn't that well done? Because that's being a woman. Because that's what we try and do. We think that we should put up with all this stuff, and we think we just have to get on with it. And what I want to do is slap you and go, no, we don't. So let's speak out and let's say I need support. I don't know if it's feasible in your field to have changes of clothes that women can, or somewhere they can put a change of clothes if that happens to them. Or, you know, I noticed in your bathrooms you have all the sanitary towels and tampons, which I thought was amazing because so many places don't. Desks having fans and make an environment, normalising talking about these issues.
Yeah.
You know, men might have issues that we don't know about because they don't tell us.
Yeah.
But making it that men and women, we can all talk about this and normalising it. Taking away shame. You feel ashamed, don't you, if you can't do your job properly because you think you're having a hot flush, you don't want everyone to laugh at you or comment. So normalising it.
And go to the GP, go to your GP, tell them your symptoms, and they can weigh up the risk of any treatments and suggest treatments to you.
I think people put going off, they put off going to the GP because I think you hear so many bad experiences, don't you, that, no, I spoke to my GP and they've just fobbed me off for this and, they've not got to what they need to. But I think from what you've just got to keep pushing, haven't you, and go back again and again.
Yeah, if you do a bit more reading around the subject and you go to the GP with a bit more knowledge, then you can advocate for yourself in a way.
It is.
A lot of women in the menopause get put on antidepressants by their GP because that's the kind of symptoms that it leads towards. So if you are a little bit more knowledgeable, then you get a better response from your GP. And if you don't feel you're getting the response, then look into whether you can go to a menopause clinic at your local hospital.
I've not heard of a menopause clinic
There's
before.
a reason why there's about 15 in the country.
Yeah,
That's the
there
terrible
really?
thing. There are
Okay.
very, very few. We are trying, but there are very few. And there literally are about 15, maybe 20 in the whole country.
Yeah.
It's shocking when you think that half the country are going to go through this.
Yeah.
We need more menopause clinics because there needs to be more tailored care for women.
Yeah.
And when you go to the, and lots of things, lots of ailments and illnesses give off the same symptoms. So it is very hard. And a lot of menopause symptoms do give off the same issues with mental health because we love to throw tablets at things. A GP will throw a load of antidepressants at you and say, well, let's see if that works. Probably, well, it won't. If it's menopausal, antidepressants are not going to help in any way, shape or form because it's your hormones.
I had a medical professional explain to me that because most of your body has estrogen receptors, that's why you get these many and varied symptoms of the menopause, because a lot of your body is affected by estrogen and your hormones.
All your
And
hormones are
everybody's
what
different,
run,
aren't they, like we said
and
earlier?
all our hormones run out of our bodies. It works. And when women get it depleted, it doesn't happen to men. But we lose ours and then we suffer physically and mentally for it. Because estrogen is the main feeder to the brain.
Yeah.
Let alone all your joints, your muscles, your heart. So many women go thinking they've got, pains in their hands and arms and they think they've got arthritis and it's literally menopause and, start taking HRT, that all goes.
So I heard the other day that you could have pains in your feet and that's a symptom of the menopause. I didn't know that.
Because your bones.
Any joint pain.
Because estrogen is in your bones. So when it goes, that's why you get incontinence, because the pelvic muscles, the estrogen makes it all loose, for a better word.
Yeah.
All these things are triggered. Brain fog, not sleeping, heart palpitations are all because the estrogen is leaving your body.
And you were saying over half the population is going to go through this. What about the other half that isn't going through it? What should they do?
But they are, because they're going to be emotionally, having to put up with us going through this. So supporting us makes our lives easier and theirs, surely, and them learning about it.
Yeah, it's always easier to help someone if you understand what they're going through. And everyone has mothers, sisters, daughters,
Absolutely.
at the workplace, colleagues, and that kind of thing.
And don't you think our men, we're all changing as a society. And Emily, you were saying this earlier. Men are different dads and husbands that they were 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. I'm sure they would much rather support us than be against us.
Yeah.
So let's help them. It's not their fault they don't know about it. It's our fault for not telling them.
I mean, I've got 2 daughters and I think they're quite open about talking about things like periods, for example, in front of the dad. I think it's quite important. And I talk to other people and they do the same. I don't think it was at one time.
No.
It was speak to your mum about that, wasn't it? Or,
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's more often talked about now, and I think that's a good thing. So what advice would you give to anybody at Bridgeway now that's worried about sharing maybe their health concerns? Doesn't have to just be menopause, I suppose. It could be anything at all.
Well, I guess first thing is to signpost them. Where do they go? Where do they go? Where do they go here when they need to? HR?
So I would always hope that people can speak to their manager in the first
Right.
instance. However, it's not always, you don't always feel comfortable doing that. So again, you can come to HR. And we've got wellbeing champions as well, which have, they've all been trained in mental health first aid. So we've got champions around the business that you can speak to. So, I mean, in terms of health issues, so physical health, so the survey that I mentioned earlier, it said 75% of respondents said that their physical health had a massive impact on their mental health.
Of course.
I've felt that personally, and Natasha, you can share your experience with this. But so around 2 years ago, I had a breast cancer scare and I had a bulge disc in my back, and stressful time at work, and just everything had a massive impact on me mentally. And I did lock it away for a while until I spoke to somebody. And speaking to somebody at home is not the same as speaking to somebody at work, because you need help at work, let's say. So, I would encourage anybody to kind of step forward and just have a conversation with anybody, or find somebody within the workplace that they could talk to. What's your experience of that? Because you've had physical, Well,
I think the first thing is, and quite right, as you pointed out, I think we've got to stop separating physical and mental health.
Yeah.
They are tied hand in hand. One affects the other. Drugs affect you mentally and physically. Health, it all affects you. So thinking, about that. And I think I think what stops people going to the workplace is the fear of losing their job. So how do we eradicate that? You're not going to lose your job if you've got a mental, physical, any kind of health problem. What we want to do is support you through it.
Yeah.
So I think if we take away the fear that someone's going to lose their job, that will surely open the door for people coming forward and wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you seem to be doing a great job that you're getting onto these subjects with your menopause, and mental health advocates and stuff, which is amazing. Keep that going. People want you to work. They need you to do that job. So they want you to be as productive as possible. You're supporting your staff. You're going to get the best out of them. So it's a win-win, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Natasha, you've had cancer, and obviously that's, something that's affected you physically, but how did it affect you mentally?
I think looking back, I must have had my dark days, and it's horrific going through cancer treatment, through physically, mentally, because the fatigue, the tiredness, how ill you feel, and I guess the fact that you are possibly facing death. I mean, I was given 2 end-of-life actually discussions that I wasn't supposed to survive, and here I am, which I just think I must be so evil, because apparently only good die young. I'm still here. I think I channeled it into really positive thinking, and I believe that did help me survive it. I did things like memory boxes for my kids, who have had so many of them now that they're like, oh, for God's sake, Mum, not another one. But that's those kind of things, practical, that kept me going and stopped me going down a dark hole. But as someone that went through cancer, I think is the alienation you can feel, because people don't know what to say to you. Yeah. So people stop visiting because they can't, and people stop telling you about the normal things in life. I want to hear about your bad toe, and that your husband's peed you off, and that you was really fed up you couldn't get no oranges in Tesco's, because that's normal. But you're frightened to talk to me about that, because how can I tell Tash she's dying? Yeah. And that's the problem. So you get it can be very lonely.
Did it make you feel anxious about further health issues, or has it given you a completely different look on life?
No, it didn't make me anxious for health issues, because I think I've realised that the importance of screening, mine was first discovered through cervical smear tests, so I'm an advocate and bang on about them all the time. Got me into medical education because of, how my treatments and how I felt and how I was treated, good and bad. So no, turned it into a real positive. Yeah. And I work a lot in palliative care now. I work in a hospice. So those kind of discussions around end of life and cancer, and the thing that comes up all the time is the alienation and how lonely it is going through that, and how people don't know what to say. So I say to anyone that's got friends, loved ones going through cancer, talk to them like you did yesterday. Yeah. Tell them about who's getting on your nerves. Tell them what you watched on TV, because normality is really helpful.
It's what they need.
It's what they need, and when they're tired, they'll tell you.
So just in summary, what would your key message be?
With
health, what should we do? Menopause, talking about it.
Health on all sides. Education is key, I think. Educating ourselves on health issues, making sure we're up to date with screenings and looking after our own health, and supporting each other with it. And that goes in workplaces. Support your work colleagues, support each other, know that, oh my gosh, you know, I've got to do this presentation, if there's someone that can help you and you're having a moment,
Yeah.
that maybe someone can step in for you and you won't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
Understand that a colleague might need a little bit more extra help and be willing to give it. But also, you know what? Ask for help.
Yeah.
It's there, so ask for it.
Emily, what would you say to anybody at Bridgeway?
I would say be proactive about your own health and well-being, be it mental or physical, and talk to the people you work with and get their support, get them on board.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you very much, both of you, for sharing your personal experiences. I think, you know, the key messages are don't bottle it up, speak to somebody. There's help there at Bridgeway if you need it. If you're currently in the workforce and you're struggling with something, then please come and chat to us. There is support there. So I think that's the key message, really. Thank you very much, both of you, for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing a good job.